Fulin and Chris-Johannes Schreiber. Green flag waves at the back. Uli Kraft on the right-hand side is our pole sitter in her 1600 Fiesta. The Super 2000 cars behind her, all 7 of them will have to get around. And a very good start by Norbert Naj. A very, very slow start indeed from Wolfgang Kreigel, third on the grid. Uli Kraft tries to stay out of the way, and the rest of them fan out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide on the run down to the first corner, as in race 1. Stunning starting from the Honda Civics. Peter Rickley takes the lead from 7th on the grid. Chris Richard from 8th goes into 2nd. Norbert Naj around the outside with the green highlights. And out of the pit lane come Peter Fulin and Chris-Johannes Schreiber. Fulin taking priority there as they came out of the pit lane, weaving a little as they start the race. First of 9 laps, and it is already a Honda 1-2. Richard Coleman, what a getaway from the Hondas. That's stunning stuff.
Absolutely, and as race 1, which was obviously a rolling start, those guys got away well. Oh, Stefanovski's off turn 3.
And through goes the Portuguese, Fabio Motta. And I think Stefanovski's going to lose another spot fairly soon. Naj up to 3rd. 4th place is Mladen Laluzic in the black car with the red highlights. So we've got 2 Hondas and then the 3 Seat Leons right behind.
The start worked out really well for Kraft in the Super 1600 class. She stayed out of everyone's way, and she's got a bit of a lead in that class now.
Oh, Fabio Motta deep in behind Mladen Laluzic. The yellow car almost tagged the black machine. Rickley and Richard under pressure from Norbert Naj. The good news for Rickley and Richard is that Schreiber and Fulin are way behind in terms of seconds. They're probably a good minute behind, and they are unlikely, no matter how much of a pace advantage they've got, to be able to catch the Hondas unless something goes really wrong. So the Hondas now have got to battle with these 3 Seats right behind. But most of all, they have to worry about Norbert Naj. Oh, no, I was going to say, because Laluzic has got his hands full of Fabio Motta, but he hasn't. He's now attacking Naj. Naj goes to the inside, and Laluzic, who went off here 2 laps from the end of race 1, just holds the outside line into, is it corner 16, 15? I lose track on this count, on this track.
Very brave from Laluzic there. That's not been a great corner for him in the previous race, so I thought it'd be a case of once bitten, twice shy, but he makes a great move around there, and now he's hot on the tail of Chris Richard.
Yep. Peter Rickley, Chris Richard, Richard to the inside, looking down inside his teammate into turn 1. Rickley lets him go. Richard has produced great pace in this car so far this weekend, and also in Paul Ricard. He was the quicker of the 2 there, and certainly Rickley has found a very quick youngster in this 21-year-old rather, Chris Richard. Can't read my own writing. 3rd place, Mladen Laluzic. 4th, the green highlights, Norbert Naj. 5th, the yellow highlights, Fabio Motta. Motta looking down the inside into 3 trail breaks, but closing the gap rather than making an overlap.
These cars in 1st and 2nd, Martin, the Hondas, they are struggling straight line speed-wise, so they're quite vulnerable to be overtaken by the slightly faster straight line car of the Seat. But they make the lap time up through this middle sector, the tight and twisty stuff, but it does make them very vulnerable in turn 1 and turn 2.
Well, the good news for them is that they can work together. I think that's why Rickley let Richard go immediately rather than slow both of them up. OK, if you're quicker, you tow me along, and then we'll both go quicker. You know, that's a very sensible move, and leave the Seats to battle behind. Laluzic gets it wrong.
No, he didn't, Martin. Naj went into the side of him and pushed him round. So I wonder if the stewards will be taking a look at that one.
I'm sure they will. And Naj back down the inside. You saw that the battle for Super 1600 is already alight. Uli Kraft with Nicholas Maction all over her. There might have been 4 grid rows between them, but Maction has caught her very quickly indeed, which probably shows how much she was hampered down on the run into the first corner. And
this fight, of course, is really helping the Rickley Motorsport squad pull away in that 1-2 position. They've probably cost themselves a couple of, probably almost a second there, just in those last few corners.
Yeah. So Naj and Mladen. Laluzic back to the inside with the black car. The line racing driver sneaks through. His first year in European touring car racing as well. And Fabio Motta right behind Norbert Naj. As you say, the gap between 2nd and 3rd of the line is now 2 full seconds. So So that's a big margin.
Martin down the inside into turn 1. Should be able to make that stick.
I bet that tyre stack was looming large in his periphery as he hooked his wheels over the curbs on the inside to try and give himself racing room. That was a good move, though. It's a quick approach into that corner. Something just flew up in the air off the back of one of the Hondas. Don't know whether it was a bit of somebody, it wasn't, it was off the back of Lalozic's car, whether it was somebody else's debris or his own, I'm not sure. Fabio Motta gets it all wrong, Naj gets it even wronger, and into the side of him goes Stefanovski, and I think really that was not so much Stefanovski's fault there. He came in on a normal line, Norbert Naj drifted out wide and then tried to regain his position. That's where it all started. He followed Motta in. Oh, okay. That view shows it differently, doesn't it? We picked up the exit there where Stefanovski looked to be innocent, but I think he followed them all in. They all went in too hot.
And obviously he got a penalty in race 1 as well, so I think the stewards may well take a dim view of that because he doesn't seem to have learned his lesson.
Well, again, as we pointed out earlier, it's only his first ever year of car racing. He's a hill climb champion and not so much used to traffic. Now, behind these two cars already, Kreigel and Stefanovski, so Schreiber and Foulin are already up to 6th and 7th from the pit lane. Now, bearing in mind, there are only 9 Super 2000 cars in the class. They've easily passed all the Super 1600s because they've got a huge power advantage, a huge speed advantage. So that was a given. Black and white flag being offered to car number 14 for driving standards. That's Igor Stefanovski. So that's, okay, this is your final warning, unless you want us to come and tear a strip off you later and remove lots of points and positions. Please be attentive to everybody around you.
And Schreiber is actually the fastest guy on the circuit by a second at the moment.
Yeah.
He's obviously in the tow of his teammate, which is helping him, but yeah, he's a second a lap faster than the race leader at the moment.
Yeah, race leader last lap 2:14.80, and Foulin's last lap was 2:14.59. The lap before, Christiane Schreiber did a 2:13.76 and his teammate 2:14.29. So best lap of the leader, 2:14.4, and the chasing Kareni Motorsport Seat Leons are going quicker than the race leader who's managed at any stage. Here's our Super 1600 lead battle then. Uli Kraft, the white car, Nicholas Maxson, the champion, the black car. Kraft was the champion in 2014, I think. 15, answers on a postcard. There's your race leader, second place man, Peter Rickley. At least, yes, Chris Richards still in front of him.
Foulin and Schreiber are going to catch that group of cars ahead of them in probably the next 3 laps or so, if they can continue this pace.
And they've got 6 laps, including this one, to go, so only 3 in the books, and they're already up into the top half dozen. There's the very slightest chance that Peter Foulin or Christiane Schreiber will end up on the podium. There's the Super 1600 lead battle. Kevin Hilgenhöfel is in 3rd place. You just saw a tiny flash of the blue Peugeot. And then Andreas Rinke, Thomas Kareni, 4th and 5th. So Uli Kraft without Kareni, her teammate, which has its downsides, no slipstream, has its benefits, unlikely to get tagged by him. So she's just got a straight battle with Nicholas Maxson. Maxson, another youngster, still just 21, already a European touring car champion in the Super 1600 class. So he won all, I think I'm right in saying, all but 1 race in the category last year.
See, at the moment, Martin, without the car behind them on the tail, he may as well just sit there for a while. There's still 6 laps to go, and these cars pull each other around with the slipstream so well that it just means that Kraft will be on behind him. So at the moment, it's probably best keeping his powder dry.
She'll never shake him off because he'll be able to tow up behind her on any of the 3 long straights here. The only slight worry for him might be a little bit of overheating in that turbulent air. The radiators won't work quite as well. It's not really going to have a major aerodynamic effect. As you can see, these are standard production shells and pretty much standard production bodywork. A couple of extra holes cut for cooling, but nothing like as developed as the Super 2000 cars with the aerodynamic splitters and the big wings and everything else that they generate a degree of their grip from, and the underfloor as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think it's a great series to learn the cars without any of those aerodynamic aids, and the cars are very, very raw, and the racing's very, very close, so it's still a great place for these drivers to learn their trade.
And pretty affordable as well by modern motor racing standards. Even these Super 2000 cars, they got a very affordable list price. I think we're going to see the championship grids becoming increasingly populated. We've had a little bit of a thinning of the ranks as we've lost several different categories out of the 5 that we've been running in the previous 2 seasons. But, you know, with the change in life always comes a little bit of pain. I think that'll be a benefit, though. Here comes the challenge for the lead, though. Nicholas Maction pulls out of the slipstream. He's not doing that so he can see where he's going. He's not doing that to cool the car down. He's doing that to try and make a move on Uli Kraft into the first corner. The problem is, when you pull out of the slipstream like that, suddenly your car hits the solid wall of air, and he's clearly, yeah, he's the same distance behind. He hasn't got a closing speed advantage.
No, my feeling is he's probably slightly biding his time. Still 5 laps to go. Yep. Yeah, no, we'll see. He's going to be working out her strengths and weaknesses throughout.
Bits of tape and stuff dangling all off the back of Peter Foulin's car. Not sure what that's about, but he is all over the back of Norbert Naj for 5th position, trying to make a pass now down the inside. Naj is holding that line, so Foulin stuck on the outside. Ostensibly identical Seat Leon Cup racers. And Norbert Naj holds the line, but he's going to drift out wide. Peter Foulin sold him that one completely. He goes around the long way, and he will complete the pass across the line. He will be up to 5th position from the pit lane, and his teammate Christian Schreiber is following him. So Christian Schreiber also goes by, and Naj now dives back to the inside to retake the place, at least momentarily. But these 2 grey and orange-red Seat Leons have both got more speed than the green Zengo car. Well, Schreiber hanging on around the outside of turn 2. Naj couldn't quite find the extra pace he needed there. And Richard Coleman, it looks like that deal is done. I think the Coreni cars are not going to be caught from now.
No, that was a great move around the outside there. It's a very, very difficult turn.
Интересно, сколько...
Front, and that's exactly what the 2 Seats have been doing here. The teammates working together. Whoever feels they're fastest goes in front, and the assister car sits behind and uses a slipstream. And here comes Maction from a long way back, dives through, takes the lead of Super 1600.
Kraft has now got to try and get on the back of him and try and keep that toe, because that's her only chance of being able to stay within striking distance of winning this race.
Well, it was a classic Slovakia ring first turn pass, and he used all the slipstream down the straight to drag by Uli Kraft. That's why we saw a brief flash of Ksenia Nix. She'd gone off at the final corner, the Ukrainian driver. She is currently 16th overall, which makes her 7th in Super 1600. Now, has Maction gone too soon? If he'd done that on the last lap, then maybe Kraft would have had less chance to get back. But now she can sit behind, and she's got 3 laps in which to make a lunge down into the last corner, the first corner, or anywhere else she sees fit.
If Kraft can keep the pace, which I think she will do, I think he has gone in too early, but it's very unnatural for a racing driver to sit in second place. Knowing you can overtake the leader and not do it.
Yes.
But in reality, you need to make a late play, because in these cars, the car that gets the aerodynamic benefit of being in the slipstream laps faster. Yeah. So in reality, he's just now making himself vulnerable, and you don't get any points until you cross the line.
It's the classic Monza slipstreamer. You don't want to be in the lead at the beginning of the last lap, only at the end of the last lap. And, you know, they used to spend their entire time in Grand Prix at Monza, in all races at Monza, jockeying for position for the final lap. So lap 7 of 9, Chris Richard, the race leader. He now is 2.5 seconds ahead of teammate Peter Rickley. Rickley in turn 2.9 ahead of Mladen Lalozic. And Fabio Motta is in 4th, a further 2 seconds back. Peter Foulin 4.3 behind Motta in 5th place. So that is a total of 2, 4, 6, 7.4 4 seconds that Peter Foulin is behind Peter Rickley for second place. He's not going to get second. He's 5 seconds behind Mladen Lalozic. He might end up on the podium. Andres Rinker in the Peugeot on the inside. And Thomas Koreny around the outside in the Fiesta.
The set pace of Foulin and Schreiber's just dropped off a bit now, and that's probably because they've just encountered a bit of traffic, and they're probably now starting to wear their tyres a little bit because they pushed very, very hard early in the race. So their pace is now dropping off a little bit, and it's not that much quicker than the leaders.
And the other question is where their tyres were, how fresh their tyres were before the start of this second race. Uli Kraft in Super 1600 in second place, but look at this, the leaders have been caught, or are being caught, by third place Kevin Hinkelheuvel. And Hinkelheuvel in the blue Fiesta Peugeot is closing them down. So you can see how the gaps have come down. Lap 5, they were 5.6 behind, now 2 seconds behind as Fabio Motta goes past Daniel Neerman, the German driver in his black and blue Fiesta.
And this is a tricky time of the race for both classes because it's very, very easy to misjudge the closing speeds and the lines of a different class car. So, exactly.
Yeah, Schreiber had to go the long way around the outside. I think he probably gave rather more room than was strictly necessary, but it's better to do that than to not quite give enough room.
So easy to trip yourself up over a slower car in a faster corner like that. And yeah, that Schreiber was demonstrating that perfectly as I was talking about that.
Got away with that just, didn't he? So he still remains on track. Peter Foulin 5th, Christian Schreiber in 6th position. Chris Richard, Peter Rickley, the leaders, and Mladen Lalozic and Fabio Motta. Motta now, the yellow and black Seat Leon, as he goes by Ted Gravitz's brother, Sergei. He moves up. He's through in 4th place, but Peter Foulin is closing in fast, and there's Mladen Lalozic in front of the shot. At the front of the shot, he's the man in 3rd place overall. This is the penultimate race lap now. Foulin is running out of time. If it was 11 laps, if they'd had a safety car, he might have been an awful lot closer, but they didn't, and he isn't. It'd be a remarkable Foulin having a little bit of a weave. Why? Has he picked up some dirt on the tyres, do you think? Is that what he's feeling?
It seemed a bit odd, although the tyres will now be really struggling. This circuit is very high in terms of degradation. There's a lot of constant radius, long corners like this one we're in here now, and that means that these cars will now be really, really struggling for grip on the tyres that they started with.
Uli Kraft, the white Fiesta around the outside of Nicolas Machin. Nicolas holds the lead though. The leaders are behind them, have started the final lap, but are very likely, I think, to pass this battle as we saw in race 1. Here's the leader, Chris Richard. He can't afford to stay behind these. He will not stay behind these 3. He'll go past Kevin Hilgenheuvel first. He does now, and he will pass these 2 on the run down to turn 3 or out of turn 4. Out of turn 4, I think. Yes, can't get by Uli Kraft and or Nicolas Machin on the way in.
Kraft has got to see if there's a way to use this to her advantage, because it's very, very difficult for Chris Richard to get involved in this, but he's through cleanly and it doesn't.
He's around the outside, exactly, but Machin may have been slightly distracted. And behind you can see the other red Honda, that's Peter Rickley. He will be coming through as well. That might put Machin offline. It might equally adversely affect Uli Kraft, or more adversely affect Uli Kraft. There's never any givens when you're being lapped by the leader, so she's just got to keep her wits about her, use her greater experience, and somehow try and stay with Machin. Oh, and the Honda gets between them, and that might have given Machin victory unless he gets held up by the Honda coming past him. As we climb over the brow and down to corner 10.
Yeah, I don't think there's a
through
chance.
goes Mladen. Oh, I don't know. Mladen just in the way there as Machin is trying to brake for the corner. And don't forget that the Seat will stop later, but harder, and the Fiesta will already have been on the brakes. Kraft might yet stand a chance, and behind Fabio Motta for 4th is about to be passed by Peter Foulin. Well, they may not have got the glorious 1-2 that they were hoping for, but Foulin is certainly keeping his sponsors' guests on the edge of their seats. He's on the grass around the outside of the Super 1600 battle. Motta down the inside. We know who's going to win. We know who's going to get second. We know who's going to get third. But the battle is on for fourth place. Foulin trying everything. He's got the run to the line. It's a 1-2 again for the Honda Civics. Third, Mladen Lalozic. Fourth will be Peter Foulin, and Fabio Motta again makes contact out of the final corner in a drag race for the line, just as he did for second place with Peter Rickley. And at the line, it was Foulin who got by Motta by 6 thousandths of a second. What a recovery drive from Peter Foulin. Nicholas Machin took victory over Uli Kraft. So turning over the race one results, it's a win apiece for Machin and Kraft. And it's a double 1-2 weekend for Chris Richard and Peter Rickley. Wow, that's a sensational performance from the Rickley Motorsport Hondas that you could not possibly have predicted. But what a drive from Peter Foulin to come from the pit lane to fourth at the line.
What an incredible last sector of that lap. I mean, on both classes, and I don't know how Foulin managed to do that, because he was on the grass, got dirt all over tyres, and as we know, a lot of drivers have gone off on turn 13 all weekend.
Yep.
Still managed to thread through 2 back markers and still pass Motta before the line.
Yeah. And kept his speed up on the grass, where traction is minimal compared to the tarmac. So he had one wheel driving him, the other one spinning rather fruitlessly. Dramatic stuff. And of course, right between those two cars battling for fourth was the lead battle of Super 1600 with the third place car in there as well. How they didn't all end up in the gravel, great testimony to their ability to keep a calm head. And you know, that again, we've talked over the weekend about the difference between a normal road driver and the focus that race drivers have to have, and that was a clear example there. 5 cars, 2 different classes, all battling for position. Genuine race down into one corner to sort it all out. Nobody went off.
Incredible.
I know.
Incredible, really.
And what a grandstand result. It's sort of rather robbed Chris Richard and Peter Rickley of attention at the line, but they don't mind. You know, if you canter away and win, like Rob Huff was saying a couple of weeks ago, I don't care. It was the most boring race of the season. I win by miles. Okay, I'm happy with that. I don't want them all to be that boring, but you'll take the odd one here and there. When
you're on the pit wall or in the driving seat, you want the most, and you're at the front, you want the most boring, dull race, straightforward as possible. And when you're behind, you need carnage and safety cars and lady luck. But yeah, I'm sure that those guys will be happy nonetheless, because that's been a fantastic weekend for those guys. Double win for Chris Richard and 2 1-2 finishes for the Rickley Motorsport team. Yeah, and Chris Richard certainly not a rising star. I think he's a fully fledged star already of this European Touring Car Cup. We're 2 weekends in, and he has really shown great pace. And this pass on the third place car in Super 1600. Rickley on the grass. Motta's got it in the bag here, but has to take a much tighter line into the final corner to get by Machin, and just can't win the drag race to line. He was compromised all the way around the turn, and Foulin somehow got the run on him and got to the line by 6 thousandths of a second. I'm not sure what that is in millimeters, but it's very few. Absolutely. And actually, that shot was a very good illustration of the differences between those 2 cars, because they both had completely different rear aerodynamics on the bumpers. Yeah, and that, again, you know, Jaime Puig and all the guys at Seat Sport are constantly evolving these cars, and so you get one that's a year or 2 old, you buy it from another race team or another driver, and then you can upgrade it, and you can, you know, use the update kits. And I'm not quite sure, again, you know, we'll have to find out afterwards the exact ins and outs of what happened with Christian Hannes Schreiber and Peter Foulin's cars, exactly which bits weren't. I mean, maybe they had put some update kit bits on after scrutineering, and I'm not quite sure what the regulations are with that. So, yeah, no, absolutely. We don't have the detail at the moment, but obviously a massive error from the team side. You know,